Hello everyone and welcome back for another Miss Ink Stamps video. Today we're going to be playing with this brand new stamp set called Cat People. It's so cool. It's got all these really great sentiments and the people from a very popular show you might know. But yeah, check it out. The sentiments alone are just hysterical. And then we're also going to be using this Fancy Shells stencil. We're going to be making a background with it. Take a look at that. I thought that would be really good for some wallpaper. And that is the color of paper that we're going to be using back there, that kind of a blush color. So I'm going to bring in my Waffle Flower grip mat. And you'll notice I'm putting my paper on there at a wonky angle. There's a reason for that. I want my stencil to look like it's going straight up and down like this. So I'm also using my grid mat behind just to make sure that I've got that stencil nice and straight. The reason for doing it this way is because I want my paper to end up being a little bit wonky on my cardstock or on my base, and so I wanted to make sure that I had the wallpaper looking straight but that the paper could be cut differently. So we're using some a blending buddy and some ink from Simon Hurley Create, and then we just kind of brush that all around the background. I'm bringing in some Saltwater Taffy Distress Oxide spray. And then I also have this Distress Mica stain, and it's the Winterberry. So you got to make sure and spray that around, or really shake it up pretty good. But it does leave a bit of shimmer. And it's not a whole lot on that background, but it's a little something. It's got a little something going on back there. So we'll set that off to the side to dry, and then we're going to bring in our images to stamp. I'm bringing in the woman from the stamp set. We'll call her Dolores, and then we're going to bring in all these adorable little plates. These are going to make up the background even more, and they all have cats on them, hence the name Cat People. So there are 3 different images of plates, and I'm going to end up stamping them out several times. I'm not going to show you all of that, but I'm going to ink that up with some Ink on 3's Blackout ink, and I'm stamping that onto some Express It cardstock. I'll make sure and stamp that a couple times to make sure that I have a nice crisp image. And then once I have all of the images stamped out, we're going to start doing our coloring. I'm using some Olo alcohol markers, and I'm going to, after I get the pink down for the background on our little plates, we're going to speed this up about 4 times because this is pretty basic coloring. For the plates especially, I don't add a whole lot of shadowing or shading to it. Towards the end, I decide to bring in a darker shade of like a red, but other than that, we're just going to go with this little pinky color. And then as you can see, we have 9 of them there. I am going to go around the edges with this gold, this yellow orange, and my pen decided to kind of bloop on the edge there, which happens from time to time if I'm not paying attention. So I just have to pay attention, and then that doesn't happen. So obviously I'm not going to be using that plate. I'll just continue to go around all of the plates, and then once I'm done with that, we're going to move on to the little kittens. And so I'm going to color them all different colors. We've got some orange ones. We're going to have some gray ones. Absolutely, I'm going to have some Siamese. Did I contemplate making every one of these cats a Siamese? You better believe I did. I almost colored them all as a Siamese, but I decided I would just do all the different kinds. And so we've got gray ones, orange ones, Siamese ones. We're even going to have kind of like a little black cat on the bottom there. And here's where I'm adding some of that little bit of extra red, and then we'll blend that out towards the back of our cats. But otherwise, the cats themselves don't really have any shadowing or shading. They are very, very basic. So, and then we'll color the carpet underneath them. This just makes me think of, like, I don't know. It's so cute. I actually almost want one of these plates. Yeah. But so then we're going to move on and color Dolores, and we're going to put her in all pink, of course. And so as you can see, I'm not doing a very good job of putting the colors up on the screen for you. Sorry about that. I just kind of was in the mode, having a good time coloring, listening to an audiobook, just living my best life, I'll tell you. And then I'm just going to, I start with light, go medium, then dark, and then I work my way backwards so I can kind of blend those colors out. And just putting the shadowing and shading where I think it would look good. We'll color her hair brown. Add some shadowing there as well. Then we're going to add some blue for her eyes, and then we're going to color her skin tone, and then add a little bit of shadowing for her skin tone as well. And then once we get that done, that's going to finish her off as far as the coloring goes. So I think she looks good. Check her out with all of her adorable little plates that are going to go up on her wall. So I'll bring in the matching dies. I do love that Miss Ink Stamps is now having matching dies for all of the stuff. It's fabulous, especially if you're somebody who doesn't enjoy fussy cutting. I don't mind, but it is nice to have the option of the dies. So this is what I was talking about. I have an A2 size card base, which measures 4¼ by 5½ inches when it's all closed up. And so that means you needed a 5½ by 8½ piece of cardstock, and then you scored it 4¼ And then I wanted my shells, my little fancy shells, to still be going, like perpendicular up and down straight. But I want my panel to be kind of on there a little bit wonky. So I glued that on there. I've got some hangover on 2 of the sides, and we're going to go ahead and bring in my guillotine trimmer to trim off that excess. It's just a fun, different way to do a background, instead of the traditional just always slapping it right in the middle or covering the whole front of the card. And then for one of those pieces, I'll just stick that on the inside of the card. Kind of brings the outside in. And that's really all I'm going to do for that one as far as the inside goes. Leave plenty of room to write to my recipient. And now comes the placement, which I played around with for quite a bit. And then I finally decided on this. Because I don't have all 9 of my plates that I originally cut or colored and die cut out, I'm actually going to use 8. I originally was trying to save 1 to put on the inside, but then I decided to use 8. And as you can see, I'm trying my very best to keep these as straight as possible as I glue them on there. I'm using my T ruler to sort of help me out there. Mostly still doing some eyeballing. I mean, that is a fact. And it doesn't always work. I have yet to have a recipient tell me that it's not straight and they don't love it. So I always try to keep in mind that rather than stress about it, because it is just paper and you made it, right? You made it for your recipient. And they're most likely probably just feeling very blessed that you remembered them. So, and a handwritten note, I mean, that's like a lost art. So try not to stress too much when you are putting things on your cards. There might be some things that aren't perfect, and it's okay. I mean, it's honestly okay. Because if you look at this too closely, you're going to probably lose your mind because it's not all really that straight. And I did use a ruler, which is okay. So now I'm going to take some of the scraps that I have from some of my foam tape, and we're just going to put that on the back of Dolores. And then we're going to take off all that release paper, and we're going to put her down on the front of the card. And then I need to stamp out my sentiment. So I brought in a pink that matches the color that we use to stamp our wallpaper. And I'm stamping it onto that scrap. I find that I didn't love the placement of that, so we're going to go ahead and stamp it again. And I'm using some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. I really like to use that for my sentiments just because it's such a crisp black ink. And then I'll bring in my guillotine trimmer, and we're going to trim this down. I wanted it to kind of tuck behind her, and then whatever's hanging over the edge of the paper we can trim down. But we'll use our liquid glue to adhere this down, using my glass mat on the background to make sure that things are nice and straight. How lovely to see your bright smiling face. I love that. Such a great sentiment. All right, so we'll trim off the excess. And then this is actually going to finish off our card for today. I hope it inspired you to maybe want to get a little inky. Try putting the placement of your paper on there a little bit off, however you want to do it. But I really do hope you like it. If you do, hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.